Picture this, ladies and gentlemen, you go out, it's a lovely 40-degree day because Australian weather sucks, and you decide to go to the comic store because where else would you rather be? So you catch a train, take a small walk, go up the elevator, and gaze upon all the stories waiting to be read. There's so many options: Ultimate Spider-Man, that boring new Daredevil run, a new Amazing Spider-Man reprint because the new issues are just god-awful, but then something catches your eye. DC All In. It's everywhere, and it's beautiful. So as you find the classic DC Bullet logo mixed with that inviting tagline, you just can't help but buy a stupid amount of new releases because you feel like you want to be a part of it all. You feel like you too want to be all in. You decide to pick up some Green Arrow, Batman, maybe even some Wonder Woman, but you just have to get the latest Superman issue because it's Superman. He's more than just a comic book character. He's a symbol, an ideal, and for so many of us, a friend we can always count on. There's something timeless about the way he inspires us, not because of his powers, but because of what he chooses to do with them. He's a beacon of hope, a reminder that even in the face of insurmountable odds, we can always choose to do the right thing. That's why every time I open up a new Superman comic, I feel like I'm reconnecting with a piece of myself. And today, we're looking at Superman issue 19, a story that dares to shake up the status quo in some surprising ways. Lois Lane as Superwoman, a change to Doomsday that I won't quite spoil just yet. It's a lot to take in. But before we dive in, I just want to take a quick second to say that here at The Stash, we're trying to hit 5.5 thousand subscribers, and every single one of you can help make that happen. If you enjoy what we're building here, if you love celebrating these stories, old and new, as much as we do, except ASM, hit that subscribe button, because every click helps us keep the lights on and the dream alive. But anyway, with all that being said, let's jump right back into the video. So our story begins at the end, where Earth is covered in a fiery blaze, yet through it all a symbol still shines as bright as ever. Superman speaks out to a mysterious figure, telling him that killing is never the answer. The Time Trapper replies to Superman, belittling his beliefs because when you're at the end of time, he deems those morals and ideals worthless. He then gives some sort of hint to who he could possibly be, mentioning the eternal battle that he and Superman share. The Time Trapper warns Superman, for if he won't do what needs to be done, he'll find someone who will. We go back to present day in Metropolis. In the Daily Planet, editor-in-chief Lois Lane is on a very busy schedule. Jimmy Olsen tries his best to keep up, but within an instant an explosion erupts in the far distance. Usually it's a job for Superman, but this time it's a little different. And so Metropolis makes way for a new protector. Flying side by side with Superman is the all-new Superwoman. Lois and Clark make it to the scene of the explosion within a blink of the eye. Upon arrival, they find the atomic skull with a few new pets, wreaking havoc among the streets of Metropolis. As the battle is about to begin, Supercorp is keeping a close eye on their heroes. It seems that there's still many unknown things about Lois and her powers, especially her limits, so they try their best to advise her along the fight. Although someone's missing, the person who's meant to be keeping tabs on Superman's red levels, Lena Luthor. The reason she's absent is for far more personal reasons. Alexis seemed to have lost his memory, and she's just trying to get him to remember his past life. Meanwhile, Jimmy Olsen is rushing as fast as he can to the scene. He's been desperately trying to get a photo of the new Superwoman for ages now, and Lois even made it his assignment to get that shot. He fully believes that today is the day, now that nothing's gonna stop him now. That is until Superman and Superwoman fly off as soon as he arrived. As Clark and Lois head back to the Daily Planet, since they just can't completely ditch their personal lives like that, they talk about some past adventures as well as other super-related stuff. But then before Clark can properly express his concerns, the city becomes filled with even more chaos. Screams can be heard a mile away, people running in sheer horror, fire beginning to surround the streets. Some would even go as far as to say it's starting to look a lot like Doomsday. Everyone is all hands on deck, immediately trying to figure out how to contain the entire situation. Mercy plans to get the Justice League involved, especially if this is anything like the first time Superman fought Doomsday. That one sentence sends Lois right back to that fateful day, the day that Superman, the greatest hero of all, died. The memory of it just sends her into a fury, for she deems this her fight too now. Just as Superman and Superwoman are about to attack Doomsday, time suddenly stops. The world went from chaos and screaming to peaceful quietness. Superman is confused about the whole situation, but it's about to get much more confusing, for when the Time Trapper appears and reveals his true identity. Superman is horrified and perplexed over the mere sight. For it's his deadliest foe of all. That's right, all this time, the Time Trapper was secretly Doomsday. Now, Superman issue 19 isn't afraid to drop you into the deep end, and honestly, I respect that. DC's all-in initiative gave me the perfect excuse to dive into this series as well as many others from my last trip to the comic store, and for this Superman story, I'm immediately hit with this overwhelming sense of mystery, and I believe that's the point, isn't it? The confusion isn't a flaw, it's a design. It forces you to sit with the unknown, to feel a little lost. Much like Clark himself, it's a bold choice, and I'm sort of here for it. So let's talk about Doomsday, the big guy, the brute, the one who killed Superman. He's legendary, a monster so iconic that his name alone still sends chills. But here's the problem. He's also, in a way, a one-hit wonder. Doomsday works for one story, and one story only. Every time he comes back, it's like hearing a remix of your favorite song that just doesn't quite hit the same. And I feel like that Joshua Williamson, the writer, knows this as well. And he's trying, he's really trying. I mean, Doomsday from the future asking Superman for help, that's a new angle, at least for me it is. It's compelling in theory, but let's just say I'm cautiously optimistic. I mean, it's not my fault that modern comics have turned me into the crazy ex who just can't learn to trust and love anymore because they got betrayed so badly, f*** you Marvel. Then there's the twist, Doomsday as the Time Trapper. Now I'm torn, because a part of me feels like it's a cheap trick, another part of me wants to see where it goes. I know it's early days and the story is just warming up, so maybe, just maybe, this twist will land, but here's what I do know. Dan Mora and Alejandro Sanchez are unstoppable. The art stunning, the colors perfect. Even if the story stumbles, this book looks phenomenal, and that counts for something at least. I mean, Dan Mora, this guy has been killing it on World's Finest, and now he's bringing that same energy to Superman. A perfect energy, might I say. He fits the character so well. Even every single panel in this issue, or whatever issue he does, is a work of art. The way he can capture movement, emotion, scale is next level, and with Alejandro Sanchez's colors, it blends in together beautifully. Even if the story doesn't blow you away, the art will. Guaranteed. But let's address the Superwoman-sized elephant in the room. Lois Lane has powers now. Cool, right? Except, no. Not really. Not like this. Williamson gives us this massive status quo shift that I believed also happened back in Absolute Power, and then just sort of skips over all the juicy parts. We jump weeks ahead and suddenly Lois is just Superwoman. No build up, no tension, no drama. Did Clark wrestle with the idea of Lois putting herself in harm's way? Did Lois struggle to balance her new powers with her old life? How did they process this as a couple? We don't know because we don't see it. It's just skipped over. You can still have the throwing us into the deep end angle to the story, while at the very least acknowledging some of these plot points or even just giving us a bit of time to see the real effects it has in the present day. Look, I've been binging Superman and Lois seasons 3 and 4 and that show gets it, and maybe that's affected my thinking because it's all about character moments, about letting these emotional beats breathe. This issue, it feels like it's in a rush to introduce the next big thing or the next big bad who, by the way, is more centered to Clark. If this is supposed to be Lois's story, then why doesn't it feel like hers? But here's the thing about Lois Lane. She's already a superhero. Always has been. Giving her powers just feels redundant, like giving Batman a cheat sheet for the Riddler trophies. Lois doesn't need powers to be extraordinary. She's bold, she's brilliant, and she's brave in so many ways that are unique to herself and her own personal story arcs. So yeah, I'm not thrilled about this development. If it's temporary, fine, but if it drags on, what's the point? The Superman mythos is crowded enough with superpowered characters, and Lois really doesn't need to be one of them. But with that being said, I'm not completely writing it off. There is potential here. Imagine a story that really digs into what it means for Lois to step into Clark's world, the sacrifices, the struggles, the tension. That story could be incredible if done well enough with the care for the characters, but we're not there yet, not even close. Overall, Superman issue 19 is a mixed bag. It's ambitious, but I feel like it stumbles over itself. The mysteries are intriguing, but the character work feels a little shallow. The Doomsday twist has potential, but it's not quite there yet. Lois' Superwoman arc could be groundbreaking, but so far it just feels rushed and underwhelming. And yet the art is spectacular. Dan Mora is carrying this book on his back, and he's doing it with style. So here's the bottom line. After everything, Superman issue 19 may not have all the answers yet, but it's still asking the right questions. It's a reminder that even when the story stumbles, the Man of Steel's legacy endures, inviting us to hope for something greater in the issues to come. But that's it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and see you in the next one.